All right, mates, welcome back to the channel. JL Scott Fishing and Eats. We are going to talk a little bit about what's been going down this week with reports regarding the incidents in the Chicamuxen Creek, which is right here below Mattawoman. Okay. This is this creek right in here. It goes up front to the Chicamuxen Wildlife Management Area, which is in the back of this creek. It's a big hunting preserve, waterfowl, all that good mess. There's also campsites right along here as well. And a couple docks, big docks that are in a ramp, actually, in that creek that most people are unaware of because it's private. But that is where the Chicamuxen lies. Let's switch to satellite, give you a little bit better view here of the creek. And the reason why we're going to cover the creek here is because there's been a lot of a stir on social media this week over commercial fishermen using nets in the Chicamuxen. This is not unusual, mates. This has been going on for decades. Okay, and so my take on it was kind of like I was surprised by the alarmist attitude that people are taking to this. My guess is it's most people that don't spend a lot of time on the tidal Potomac because these things have been happening on the Virginia side and the Maryland side. They are commercial fishermen. This is not illegal activity, okay? Let's just stress that up in the forefront of what we're talking about today, okay? It's not illegal activity. It is a commercial fishing regulated industry, okay, that brings millions of dollars to both, hundreds of millions of dollars to both Virginia and Maryland along this watershed, okay? So let's address that and accept that for what it is. And a lot of people have made the false assumptions and assertions that because there's money involved, that this nefarious act, that actions aren't being taken against commercial fishermen. That's just wrong. If you look at the activity of violations and fines, you will find them in the commercial fishing side in Virginia and Maryland. It's not like there's void of any kind of enforcement in the commercial fishing aspect. So this notion somehow that it's like, oh, well, you can complain, you can whatever, but they're not going to do it. They're not going to do anything, mates, because it's not a violation of the law, okay? We may not like it. I mean, no one likes fish kills, okay? But this isn't the first time. This isn't the first time we're even talking about Chicamuxen, okay? And I'll get to that in a moment. But sometimes getting a little bit of information first goes a long way. Right? It's no one likes fish kills. So if you throw out pictures of people, you know, of fish up on the beach or fish up on the bank, it triggers us. No one wants to see fish killed unnecessarily, right? Okay? But I can tell you I made a half a dozen calls in the last 24 to 48 hours. Because I was not physically in the creek in the last 24 to 48 hours, okay? I had fished this creek about a dozen times in March, April, going into May. Okay? The notion that this creek is like a wasteland, a dead sea, there's no fish in there, is just absolutely false. Okay? And you can go and look at recent series events, Bass Nation and clubs and battle series and everything else on the Potomac going back to last year. And I guarantee you, many of the top 5 bags came out of that creek. Okay, it's not nearly as pressured as Mattawoman is. It's just south of Mattawoman. Okay, Mattawoman is right here. That's Smallwood right there. Okay, and a lot of people don't fish it that hit the bigger areas in the tidal fishery. So it's not nearly as, plus it's a protected area. There's a protected area in the back of the creek. And at first, that's sometimes where the confusion lies because there used to be areas with like buoys and stuff that marked that area off that you could not fish back all the way up in that marshy area because it was protected. Okay? And so sometimes when people see that, that must be nets. Those weren't nets. These, video was surfaced. It was published on a bunch of groups and on Facebook. It was sent to me by literally 8 people. Okay. Jay, what's this all about? What's this? That's how they commercial fish. But again, what are the commercial fish targeting? Aren't they targeting the number one predator that the very people, it seems to me, that are taking such exception with the commercial fishermen constantly are always projecting about the state not doing anything, i.e. the catfish? Okay? Very invasive predator, right? That people claim and studies have shown that they can be detrimental to fisheries, much like people have claimed about the snakehead population in the tidal Potomac. So these two species would seem to me to be the preferred species for man, that would be us, to target and remove from our fisheries. And that's exactly what this commercial fisherman was doing this week. He was targeting blue channel and catfish species in the Chicamuxen. And he has before in the past, okay, numerous times, just like they have done on the Virginia side of the Potomac in various creeks there that have been, quote unquote, by many people, overrun. Now, I can understand the pushback from people taking exception in terms of catfish fishermen that only target catfish or snakehead. Snakehead fishing is becoming a very increasingly economic-driven activity for the states. It's bringing more anglers to the state, ecotourism, to fish for snakeheads because snakeheads are not everywhere. And so it becomes a destination-oriented species, right? So you got people coming from all over down into Maryland and into Virginia to fish for snakeheads. So I can understand, and I talked to a few of those guys, their pushback on commercial fishermen coming in and taking 200 snakeheads out of a creek, okay? Because that's their sport fish. That's what they want to target, right? The bass fishermen, this only benefits us. The removal of the catfish invasiveness from creeks like Chicamuxen benefits the creek long term. And I can tell you this. And I don't know if many of the people that have been commenting and sharing and having outrage and alarmism about this have ever fished in the Chicamuxen. But I can tell you that it is as good as it's been in probably 5 years, 6 years. Right now. 15.76 pounds. Mates that are watching this channel that fish kayaks understand what I'm saying, because in private or in conversations we may have had leading into the KBF Potomac event months ahead of time, 6-8 weeks ahead of time, talking about what was happening in the Potomac Tidal Breakdown Series, what was happening with the fish and the pre-spawn and the spawn and all of that stuff. They will tell you I was talking about Chicamuxen. Okay? Mallows Bay and Chicamuxen. That was where we were catching fish. Lots of fish. Good quality fish. 5 bass limits in these areas. 15 to 16 pounds. Okay? Right? So this notion that somehow it's a Dead Sea is completely false, mates. It's just completely false. Okay? It's got grass in there. It's not as pressured as other creeks. It's got nice grass coming in there. It had spawning fish in there. Now, the spawn is not really happening right now there. It already happened. Not to say that there's no fish in there spawning right now that these commercial fishermen could have impacted. Okay. Reports are there was anywhere from 60 to 90 fish kills. Fish kills. Okay. We don't know whether or not those fish kills are all catfish or bass, because when these commercial fishermen target catfish and snakeheads, inevitably they kill some of those. We don't know how many of them are bass. And even if they are bass, and it's 90 bass that we don't, on any other way, we would not want to lose in the fishery, right? How many bass are we going to lose in the month? How many bass did we lose in the month of April or the month in May due to tournament fishing? Mortality rates. We don't really know. Translocation. We don't really know. You know? We don't. How many are we going to lose this summer with people's live wells aren't calibrated right? How many of us report losing a dead fish to the state? Most people don't. So this alarmism to me is kind of like, look over there, don't look over here. Because we got a lot of problems that need to be addressed. Okay? And this isn't one of them. This is, again, a legal activity that actually provides a benefit to the fishery twofold. One, it provides revenue for the state. It provides revenue for the commercial fishermen, our economic development, our economics in some of these rural counties where the commercial fishermen actually reside. Okay. And two, it actually removes invasive species from our creeks and fisheries. This is what we want, right? So many people bitch and moan about the state not doing enough to combat these problems when they actually have commercial fishermen doing the work to do that, to remove 200 to 1,000 catfish at a time or more, depending on where they are and when it's done. So it benefits the fishery mates. I just want everyone to understand there's always two sides to every story here, okay? So I want to remind everybody, all right? Let me pull this up. In 2017, a fish kill was reported in the Chicamuxen, okay? And they actually tracked down the commercial angler who took responsibility for the fish kill. This was in 2017. And they claimed that thousands of fish were popping up dead in the Chicamuxen. And it ended up turning out that it was not even nearly that many. Okay. But they interviewed Alfred Grinder, who's a fifth-generation commercial fisherman, and who admitted that the dead fish were a byproduct of his commercial nets in the Chicamuxen at that particular time. Okay? And he replied and was cleared. He was in full compliance of the Maryland Department of Natural Resources laws, which state anglers to remove and kill any blue catfish they catch, as they are invasive top predator and pose serious and long-term threats to our native species, which is true, which is what everybody complains about, right? In terms of the bass fishing community, it's what everybody complains about, right? Is catfish are taking over massive amounts of territories in the Potomac River, okay? Some blue catfish were released dead while fishing the Halcyon. However, it was in accordance with the Maryland DNR regulations, okay? And everything this week that's been demonstrated thus far has been proven to be in compliance with Maryland state law. We may not like it. I may not like it. I don't want to lose fish, unnecessarily. But sometimes there is a benefit on the other side. And it may be next year or the year after. Now, I don't know. We do not know, and there'll be no way of knowing if there were spawning beds disturbed. I know from what my experience is that the bass were off the beds that I saw in this creek. Okay, right in early May, like the first couple days of May. Okay, and most of them the last week in April, they had already moved off their beds. Okay, so it means they already spawned. All right, doesn't mean they all did, and this certainly could have been an issue. Now, if you contact the state will tell you that it's illegal to transport live blue catfish, just like snakeheads, okay, into another body of water. Okay, so these commercial anglers, they are, okay, hauling these fish to market, so to speak. Okay, they're not dumping them in other areas. However, some of them are going to die in the process of bringing the net in and all of those things. And oftentimes those fish, again, show up on the bank, okay? Inevitably, that is what was seen this week, okay? Now, if you're a resident of Charles County, I can understand the fact that the commercial anglers need to do a better job of wrangling in the dead fish. Don't just leaving the dead fish. To me, as a small business person, a commercial fishermen usually are independent, small business operators. I would think that I would not want that to occur. And you saw that occur is have someone round them all up and dispose of those fish. I can understand that. I mean, I can understand someone trying to push for that kind of regulation. I don't know. But those anglers are not in violation of any Maryland law. Now, again, like I said before, we may not like it, and that's just how that rolls. Here, give you another really good look at this creek. Usually beyond Linden and here, up into this area, you're not allowed to go back and fish back up in there. Okay. Whether or not that's being enforced or not, I still see sometimes boats beyond that point. Okay. Again, anglers most people are ignorant of laws, and some people question whether or not those laws are still in place or not. But that is a wildlife refuge management area, okay, all back in here. So you're not supposed to take motorized boats. I don't even think you're allowed to take kayaks anymore beyond the point. And sometimes there used to be buoy markers and stuff. I don't recall them being present anymore. And there used to be a lot more waterfowl things that have been kind of removed and all that in this creek over the last 20 years or so. Again, like I said, this is a big hunting area as well. But this is what you have here, mates. I mean, and so where this was occurring, was identified as an area with excessive amounts of catfish. And that comes from angler reports. Okay. And so again, this is what the commercial fishermen are actually fishing for. They're fishing for catfish. And now, to some extent, depending on the commercial fishermen and the market, snakeheads. Because if they think about this, what message do we want to send to our commercial fishermen, right? You throw the net out, you haul the net in, and all of a sudden in your net, you're going after catfish, but you find, 30, 40, 50 snakeheads. What is that commercial fisherman to do with those snakeheads, right? Do we want him to return those snakeheads to the water? Because he can. Just like you can return your snakehead that you catch back to the water, right? It's recommended that you don't do that. They would prefer that you don't do that, but they can't make you keep the fish, okay? So what do we want to have happen here? Like, let's have a dialogue, have a conversation. The snakehead community would rather have them return the snakeheads. I'm sure the bass community would rather have them remove the snakeheads right along with the catfish, right? So the communities need to come together, okay, and have this conversation as to what's the preferred outcome that's going to benefit the fishery and everybody's interest collectively, working with the commercial fishermen. Now, the state can always designate times in which, for example, maybe the bass fishing community is very concerned about the spawn and that they don't want the spawn to be impacted by commercial fishing. Then they can lobby for such regulation that would state that the Chicamuxen Creek or any other creek is off limits to commercial netting from April 6th to May 6th during the spawn. Those are things that you can lobby. Okay. Now, I don't know how many people have watched this channel, have been involved in that process. I have been to Richmond. Okay. The state legislature in Richmond. I have been to Annapolis. Okay. Which is Maryland's seat for their state legislature. Okay. In Virginia, they call it a General Assembly. Okay. That's who you go through, your delegates, your state senators, to seek out legislation And they will have their aides work with DNR and DWR to find out, okay, what's happening, what's not happening, what do they need? And then they'll go into a committee, and then they'll have a hearing, and you'll be able to come and speak at that hearing. And then they'll be able to know whether or not they want to actually do something or nothing, or send a bill up, kick the bill up to the next level, right? Okay, through the caucus, through whatever. That's how inevitably you can impact change in your locality, if it is that big of a deal for you. If it's not really that big of a deal for you, then it doesn't do much keyboarding on social media. I mean, playing the alarmist game, because that's not what's going to impact change. What impacts change is being involved and engaged, okay, through your Black Bass Advisory Committee for Maryland and Virginia, right? Like, okay, find out who's on the committee. Go back and look at my video, okay, on YouTube. There's the committee, the information about the committee. Contact those people that are on the committee. Ask questions, get engaged if you want there to be change. But as it stands today, this activity is 100% legal. That doesn't mean everybody netting is doing it legally. It just means that these particular commercial fishermen are abiding and are compliant with state law. Okay? Now, we may not like it, but it's happening all over our Chesapeake Bay, the tidal fisheries, inland fisheries, all of that stuff, because that's commercial fishing. So I just wanted to stress that. I wanted to make this video because I know a lot of people, my phone blew up for the last 2 days, lots and lots of questions about this issue, what's happening, what's going on, what is the Chicamuxen dead, and what's, they've cleaned out all the bass out of the Chicamuxen, they've destroyed it. No, they haven't. Okay, they have not done that. That is not true. Okay, and I encourage you to go and fish there and find out for yourself. Okay, because it is a great little creek. Okay, compared to the other creeks. Okay, it's a little bit different form and function, shape to it. You can kind of see right here. And so it's just a really great place to go and fish, and it has been for the last few years, and it's gotten better and better and better. And these guys have been commercial fishing it, like I just said. We know since 2017, since the last time someone got upset about a fish kill. Okay, these things happen. We would like to limit them. We would like to avoid them, but they are a byproduct of the commercial fishing aspect that is legal. And so we have to accept that until such time that we decide to push for closure periods if we believe, especially during spawn, if we believe that they could negatively impact spawning classes in our creeks. But that's the update on the Chicamuxen, so-called Chicamuxen fish kill of 2023 that was reported this week. And what I have come up with so far. If you have come up with something different, please hit me up. Please message me on Facebook, JL Scott Fishing and Eats. Please hit me up, text me, give me a text, or comment in the comments below. If you have any questions or concerns or anything that you would like for me to look into, I certainly will do that. I just firmly believe, mates, we have bigger fish to fry, so to speak, in our tidal Potomac fishery in terms of translocation of bass after tournaments, especially during the summer, where we remove bass. Okay? I mean, think about this. You've got this commercial thing. What's more detrimental to a fishery? A fish kill that it actually kills 50 to 60 to 70 catfish, okay, that are invasive species anyway? Or the fact that we went into Chicamuxen in April and May in fishing tournaments, caught 3, 4, and 5 pound spawning bass, then took them up to Smallwood or Leesylvania on the Virginia side, weighed them in, and then had them released there. What is more detrimental to your fishery? Translocation or commercial fishermen? Because those bass are never returning to their spawning grounds. Okay? Leesylvania is all the way across the river. Those bass are not going to go through the channel, cross the channel, and come all the way back through the flat and all the way out to the mouth and all the way back to their spawning grounds. They're not. You just removed a bass that could spawn in that creek multiple years out of its home range and put it somewhere else. Okay? And I said this before, look on YouTube, look at my translocation video. I know it's science, I know it's biology, and a lot of people have a real problem with facts, okay, and science and data and biology. But why do you think the Mattawoman is such a great creek, mates? Why do you think everybody goes and fishes the Mattawoman? Because 80% of all caught fish in bass tournaments are released in the Mattawoman. Okay? They are. Most major national events that will catch hundreds to thousands of big fish in their spawning age class, okay, are taken out of Potomac River all season long and dumped in the Mattawoman. So is it any wonder why the Mattawoman is so many lights out, than other creeks? Because you've been taking all the older quality fish from the other creeks, from the Virginia side of the river, and bringing them to the Maryland side of the river and dropping them in the Mattawoman. Now, do you think that has a bigger impact on the fishery long term than the commercial fisherman? I'll leave that thought with you, mates. All right, I'll see you guys on the next time. Please message me, like I said. Please like and subscribe to the channel. If you've had anything you'd like to be covered, please hit me up, and I will see to it.